I don't see any hands up. I'll ask for disclosure of monetary interest.
Good.
And I don't any issues there. Adoption of minutes for September 8th meeting. I need a couple of hands for motion for adoption of minutes.
I'll adopt.
Seconded by Chris. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, we have no delegations today. We have a few priority issues, and I'm going to amend the agenda. Charlene will be speaking to an area of reflection that relates to reconciliation, and I don't think Charlene has signed on yet. No, I don't see her.
Sean, I make a point of clarification if I can.
Yes, Chris?
Although I have not got direct connection with the group that will be presenting on behalf of Métis Nation Highlands Waters, I do have an association with the Métis Nation of Ontario.
Okay. I wouldn't consider that to be a conflict. And
just wanted to make sure.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Okay, we'll move ahead in the agenda. We'll move A down. We'll start with B, the survey. And Peter.
Just wondered if are we going to discuss item number 5 or reading that?
I don't see any correspondence item on my agenda. Is that the Métis Nation?
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it's on my agenda.
Oh, okay. I must have a previous version of it. So let's move item 5 to priority item D.
Okay. So I'll go ahead with the survey update.
Yes, sure.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So with Nadine's help and Amy's help, we've released the survey more than a week ago, probably maybe just a little more than a week ago. And it went out with press releases. It went out on the town website. It went to our partner organizations. And I believe it went to everybody on the task force. Not surprisingly, a bit of a slow uptake on the responses. Nadine informs me that Amy's going to do a second release of announcements and today to try and get it reinvigorated. And we wondered if people on the task force who have a social media platform would also share it with maybe a little personal endorsement saying this would be really important to hear your views. Anecdotally, Nadine told me that a person came in, just happened to see it at the town hall sitting there, read it and said, what a good idea. That's pretty straightforward. I think I'll take one away. But so a lay person who's not interested, well, I shouldn't say not, who didn't know it was there, reviewed it and said, oh, I could fill this out. It was pretty straightforward. So that was interesting feedback. So no, we just want to get uptakes. I don't know how things are going at the high school, Jacob. I don't think we commented last time. It went out in between our meetings. So I don't know if you have had any luck, Jacob, sending it out through the high school students or not.
We kind of missed the boat on that in that at the beginning of school, our superintendent came through and did a very similar survey that included pieces of that with our students, especially our grade 9s and 10s. So I think to repeat the survey in the school, I don't think would be, teachers right now are a little up in arms about time and
yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be feasible. I can put it out as an optional piece to the students and have that those results sent back to me. But everything's pretty stressed here and not very healthy right now, actually.
I hear you. When the board has the results, will they break it down by school or just say all grade 9s across the board responded this way? Do you know?
Hoping they do it by school and by the board. I can talk with Mr. Gardner and see if we can have access to those results.
Yeah, I think that would be really good information, especially if it was by school. But so if anybody else has any suggestions on how we can promote it further,
Yeah, Chris and Janelle both have their hands up. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was thinking, I haven't received it yet either at this point. I have some people on my Facebook page who would definitely be in our community. But Mayor Penko, I was thinking about the Facebook postings you do. I would suggest that we reintroduce it through that fashion. I also wanted to say that I think it's so crucial the survey does get completed, and that if we needed to make an extension, I think that that would be important, because I think we need as much of the community's feedback as we can possibly get.
Agreed. Yes, and I will do that, Chris. And I think there's no negative in over communicating and over promoting this and getting as much feedback as we possibly can. And it's also not
I just
usual.
asked, could I possibly get an accessible copy made for myself that I could get from the town?
I see Nadine nodding. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Perfect, thanks. I was just gonna make a suggestion of, if it's already linked to the town's website, that maybe we could just do up some QR codes that people can scan with their phones. So even that way we can distribute that at the high school, just again, making it easier, because a lot of people are on their smartphones and are familiar with QR codes. It's just something that we used at Starbucks to just advertise it and get the information, but then make it really easy and accessible for people to get like onto the website.
Great point. Thanks, Janelle. And we can investigate that, how we could do that. Okay. Kaz?
I just wanted to ask Jacob if there's, maybe a student email or students, like student council Facebook page that, we would be able to offer this to the students to be able to complete, completely optional, of course. But, just furthering, social media blasts are one thing. I just think it's a little bit, or we would get a little bit more feedback potentially if there was sort of an open forum for them to complete when they want, how they want. Yeah, I just think the more voices, the better, whether it's, no matter what the age really. I'm also thinking, if there is, my daughter goes to St. Francis, so there's the St. Francis school page. I wonder if we could speak to some of the schools and get them on board to just share the survey out on their Facebook pages, that kind of idea.
Great, thanks, guys. Yeah. Nadine, you've got your hand up. I guess you have some feedback.
Just quickly, just a note. I know it for everyone's information. It is on the Speak Up Smith Falls site. However, we also have paper copies available here at the town hall and the library for accessibility requirements to make sure that it's not just online. But certainly, as part of the launch today, I was just talking to Councillor McKenna prior to the meeting about resending it to our stakeholder groups, i.e. Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the school principals. So Kaz, that's a great idea. I can send them a separate email and just ask them if they could share it on their social media page. Maybe they could share the Smith Falls Facebook post or whatever, but no, great ideas, and we'll make notes of all of that.
And I don't have any concerns. Chris's suggestion, if we want to extend it a week, we can, or 10 days, that's this is our schedule, but we'd like to get as much as we can back, keep the pressure on people, start to lose, so keeping it, put some pressure on the deadline for now, but we can move it if we need to, Chris.
Could I also suggest that we share it with our accessibility committee? I think that will reach a whole other group that are really crucial as well, that could be involved in this.
Sure, I think they're meeting later today, Nadine. I'm sure Nadine can carry that message forward. Thank you. Okay, any other comments here before we move on with the agenda? I don't see any additional hands up. Okay, thank you. Progress report and 2022 budget request. Nadine, can you share the progress report, please? So we'll go through this report step by step, and what I'd like you to do is, if you have any comments as we move through, put your hands up and we'll discuss it before we move on to the next item. I'm just going to change my layout here so I can't change my layout now. If you have something to just comment rather than putting your hand up, just catch me, because I can't see everyone on the screen at the same time. So going through our mandate, it's the task force is a committee of council appointees who work in partnership with the Smith Falls community, organizations, businesses, stakeholders in the town to understand local realities and develop a plan of action to foster inclusion. We've had numerous delegations which have helped provide great insight. And asking, I guess, the group, do you think there's more we need to do? Whoop, Nadine, we got your. Is there more we need to do to understand the local realities? Obviously, the survey is underway now. Any suggestions on anything further we should do to understand local realities and develop a plan of action?
It's Peter, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
We don't have control over it, but I think it'll be this winter, maybe January, that Stats Canada will start to release their demographics from the survey we did in May, and they will get right down into the makeup of our community. So I think that information, although it might be after our mandate, I think that will really help. Just having a better sense of who's actually living here and how they identify themselves through Stats Canada survey, the census.
Yes, great point. Thank you. Chris, did you have something to add?
Yes, I have been thinking a lot about this, and I just wanted to raise this for our consideration. I think that because we're getting close to the end of our mandate time, that we may need to consider whether or not we need to extend our mandate, possibly by 3 months, is what I was thinking, just to finalize and see completion of some of the things so that we have them done. I also was thinking how important, in my estimation, which I'm prepared to start exploring more actively as well, of coming up with an allyship bill of rights and creating that so that there would be something available not only to the staff potentially, but also to those in the community who really want to know what else they can do. And that this could be a possible thing that we could develop into some form of pamphlet and other forms that are accessible in varying ways, so that we can also help educate, which we've talked a lot about during our time.
Okay, thank you. Janelle?
Thank you. I'm just thinking of making space where, I know we're doing a survey, but some type of space where people could come and just share their stories. So whether it was like a coffee house that we did or just like a virtual forum, because I don't know if we've really taken the time as a committee just to pause and listen to if people are willing to speak up a little bit, to listen and then have more direction on what's next for Smith Falls.
I think it's again a great idea, Janelle. It's I guess maybe Starbucks would be a great forum for that if that's a possibility. So let's keep that under consideration so we can get, if people are willing to come forward and speak. I think obviously it's maybe a much deeper feedback than we get through a survey. Additional thoughts here? Tim, I see you've got some company. Okay. Identify barriers and areas of opportunity in order to enhance the shared experience and opportunity for the racial minorities and those impacted by discrimination and prejudice. So we'll wait for the results of the survey, and then we can dig deeper probably to that. Provide input and recommend actions on matters relating to the provision So the resolution support to council passed the resolution relating to 8 anti-hate crimes incidents, the private members bill banning symbols of hate. Our community ambassador program, allyship program, which is something we'll discuss further in the agenda, I think when it comes to the budget request. That also relates to our plan for an enhancement to the website for the allyship program. Statement for a community around being inclusive, which we did June of last year prior to the formation of this task force. Any other thoughts there? I don't think I see any hands up. I think there's a lot of work to still be completed in there. And then to Chris's point, if we need to take more time to do this, I think it's important that we finish our mandate based on what we want to accomplish, more so than the timelines that we had initially committed to. To make recommendation to council regarding membership and commitment to the Canadian Coalition of Municipalities Against Racism and Discrimination. All right, I think it's now the Canadian Coalition of Inclusive Municipalities. And but I think that's a no-brainer and something that we simply need to make that overall statement and commitment. And I don't see any reason why we wouldn't hold that up unless we want to complete our mandate and then make that an outcome of the mandate of the task force. I don't see any suggestions there.
Sean, may I just
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
bring one thought together? I myself believe that before we finish, I think an in-person meeting with all of us in a safe way really would be an important thing for us. I think it would give us an opportunity to kind of continually hear more, and maybe that would be an extended meeting so that we can actually hear how fleshed out all of these items actually are. It's difficult, especially for me, because of the issue I have around disabilities and dyslexia. If I cannot hear but sometimes see together, and the present Zooming, the one disadvantage unfortunately is I can't really see what's on the screen, and even though I have the minutes, it's not the same. I think that it would help to really have that opportunity to explore more as well. And that's just my thoughts, but I really think that inclusivity is so much a big part of the discrimination part of our task force that it's good.
Okay, well, thanks, Chris. And we would have to make it maybe council's decision as to how we are meeting at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
Meet virtually, but again, we're probably looking at sometime next year when we do get our final report completed. Increase trust, loyalty, and respect in the community by promoting greater equality and inclusion. Mm-hmm. And much of what we're doing there on the website, we held the community consultation at Highland Corporate Park, which was we received great feedback from the community at that point in time. Our Every Child Matters reconciliation event, I think, was very well attended, a very heartwarming event. Thanks, Tim, Charlene, Chris, and Michelle for the commitments there. Raising the pride flag, the Every Child Matters flag, our ongoing partnership with powwow organizers, and then the acknowledgement resolution passed by council September 30th. The anti-hate crimes legislation, banning symbols of hate. So I think we've made some great strides there. Any additional suggestions on any gaps or anything we perhaps have missed or things we should be considering?
Again, we briefly touched on the fact that there are events throughout the year that are key events, some that our town have been involved in before the striking of the task force. But I was thinking that it would be a big help. We had formed a list if we were to make some decisions so that we could hopefully acknowledge those on an annual basis. So for example, after Truth and Reconciliation Week, we could also acknowledge Sister in Spirit, which we have in the past at council. We could potentially also, and we have, I believe, acknowledged December 6th. Also in February, there are also events like Have a Heart Day, which our community has known about in the past. And of course, May 5th, where, Flora Riley has been a remarkable force in Red Dress Day. I think all of those particular events are part of the ongoing commitment to truth and reconciliation. And I know from past experience that the council has recognized a number of those.
Thanks, Chris. And not mistaken, you and Charlene were going to work on a comprehensive list to bring back the task force, I believe. So we'll have a greater discussion on that at a future meeting. Thank you. Any further comments here before we move to the next? Oh, Janelle? Your hand up? No, it was just showing up on my screen.
Sean, it's Kaz.
Hi, Kaz.
I'm curious, in regards to the Banning Symbols of Hate Act, do we not have municipal bylaws in place already banning hate symbols? Or is there a listing of what those would be? Like, just further details, I guess. I'm just curious.
Okay, yeah, so we are, anything we would do locally would be overridden by provincial and federal legislation.
Of course.
And regulations. And right now, we don't have the ability to really ban symbols of hate because there's nothing federally that would restrict certain symbols. It does, like, the swastika is an example, which is prohibited, but using Confederate flag as an example, it's not yet prohibited. So the action we took in supporting the private members bill is hoping that our support, along with many other municipalities and organizations, will help lead to, I would say, a broader anti-hate crimes regulations across the country.
I understand. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, I don't see any other hands up, I don't think. Okay, our scope of work, you can, I'll touch on it there, understanding Chris, maybe have difficulty seeing at this stage. So the task force will identify and implement actions to fulfill the following goals and objectives. Work towards the reduction and elimination of racism and discrimination. To identify existing systematic barriers for racial minorities and those impacted by discrimination, and develop and provide opportunities to address these barriers, provide education, and effect change. Improve our practices to promote social inclusion, to promote human rights and diversity, produce an action plan and report to council within 6 months of the inaugural meeting to identify primary goals, measurement tools, implementation plans, timelines, and budget. That would be, I think our 6-month point is going to be around mid-November. Build partnerships and share resources with like-minded organizations to maximize benefit, be aware of global best practice to reduce potential for overlap of services and initiatives. Be inclusive of all community residents at all levels and abilities. And I think this speaks to people who are discriminated by disability, discriminated by income and social status, and engage stakeholders, businesses, and cultural organizations as partners in the delivery of initiatives. So items that could be included in the report, if you go to our, welcome Michelle, to the Heritage House research presented by Lisa. They're seeking membership for a working group. This could be a recommendation from this committee. Everyone goes back, you remember the meeting when Lisa had presented the work of the Heritage House. And do we believe we should be supporting that and making a recommendation that happens? I see some nodding heads. looking to be a recommendation of our report. Obviously, our land acknowledgement, and I'm proud that was something that this task force worked at developing, obviously with great support from both Chuck and Francine. And that land acknowledgement, if you're not aware, is now being read before every council and committee of the whole and committee meetings. And my mistake, I did not read it today. So my oversight, my apologies for that. We're still getting used to that. Recommendation that the town management formulate a training program for all staff, council, boards, and committees as it relates to combating racism and discrimination in the workplace. So there are numerous resources we've talked about at different points. I believe this will be something that will be part of our recommendation. Staff have discussed this internally, and I think when we talk a little bit further about budget, this is something we may need to resource in order to be able to push that over the finish line. Recommendation for a page dedicated to diversity inclusion on the website. And again, that's a matter, I think, a clear recommendation and be a matter of putting that together. That would, of course, include links to our past meetings and various resources and contacts within the community. Link on the webpage to online training the public could take. So again, make it easy. If we have that one page as a resource for everybody, they have the opportunity to go there and connect to other resources and training that they could take advantage of. Community education, the ambassador program, the survey, Orange Shirt Day, the Active Reconciliation. Recommendation to continue supporting the powwow culture events that bring awareness, educate, and promote inclusion. I think is extremely important. Recommendation the town join the coalition, follow through on the declaration, which I think is again a no-brainer there. Request the Arts and Culture Council consider potential memorials, monument ideas, receive their insight and feedback. And again, I think once Charlene does her presentation, we have some consensus on what this area of reflection, reconciliation will look like. We want to bounce it off the Arts and Culture Council. And recommend use of funds for the anti-racism and anti-hate grants. Nadine, can you explain that a little bit more, please? Is that the one we determined we were not able to apply for?
Yeah, sorry, I had a hard time unmuting. Yeah, there was a grant that we had hoped that we could apply for, but we weren't eligible as being a municipality, but staff will continue to research those grants. And if anything comes up, we'll certainly let this task force know about it because maybe something that can be used.
Thank you. And of course, the development of the allyship program, allyship/community ambassador program. So I think there's some major actions which will have a significant lasting impact that we need to find a way to resource and I guess in discussions internally between myself and staff regarding budget. We believe we probably need some budget for this task force in order to be able to follow through with some of the initiatives that we have talked about. If we, as an example, let's say if we decided, even if it was going to be $100 for a training program for each staff member, board member, committee member, we're probably looking at somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000 by the time we spread that across the organization. Adds up pretty quick. If we want to the development of the community ambassador allyship program is, and again, we're not sure. I mean, we have staff who are working at capacity now, and if we want to ensure this is a priority that can get done, then we maybe find a way to either outsource that or hire temporary staff in order to be able to deliver that. I guess a point I'd like to discuss is from a budgetary, for the 2022 budget, I believe we need something in there to be able to complete our mandate. And I just like thoughts from other members of the task force. Peter?
Well, just to say that I agree, getting to a dollar figure I think I actually know that there's a receptive council, they supported the creation of the task force and they support our work. I suspect I believe that if we put a modest request forward, that they'll be receptive. It's budget time, so there's a lot of demands, but if we could pinpoint the deliverables and the costs as close as we can, I think, so ideas from the group, it's hard to price it out right now, but we should put a dollar figure together with some deliverables, and I think you'd get a receptive audience.
Thank you.
I'd like to echo,
Go ahead.
I'd just like to echo Peter's comments that, I do think that council would be open to offering some sort of budget. I do think it's very important for the town from an optics perspective alone to complete the training. The costs are fairly substantial. I can understand that and I can appreciate that. I do think though that the impression that we would give people coming into our community if we decline it based on budget or budgetary to decline that training, I think is more detrimental than anything else we could possibly do. So throwing a bit of cash at the training aspect, not only for town, but for the town, or excuse me, from the town, I think would be imperative to keep this thing moving forward.
Great point, Kaz. Other thoughts?
I agree as well. I think that as we look at the work that you just covered there, Mayor Panko, and just what we will need to complete that work, and then also if we look at next fiscal year, what we have planned and the things that we want to come together, it's just going to help to elevate all the work that we are doing, because we'll have some funding behind it to really make more things come to life. So I love it. Great.
Thank you. Of course, the other piece that fits in here is our area of reflection and reconciliation. And again, I don't know what that looks like. We don't know what the cost could be. But if we truly intend to follow through with that, and I think we absolutely have to, there has to be dollars set aside to complete that. Peter?
I agree, and then not knowing that cost would be important. That's something that I can also see our community rallying around to help fund if need be. I could see, matching dollars. We've got, I don't know, 3,000, and for every dollar the community we'll put $1 in. I don't know. I could see that if that's something that our community would want to help fund as well. Depending,
And as Nadine mentioned earlier, staff will also seek any potential grant opportunity for various organizations. So
yeah, and Kaz's point was a good one. I don't see the community fundraising to train our staff, but a monument, or not a monument, an area of reflection could be something that I could see the community getting excited about.
Yes. And to Kaz's point, I also had a meeting last week with a representative from Public Policy Forum Action Canada. And it's a 10-month-long study tour tasked with study topics and writing policy recommendations based on lived experience, primarily regarding the lack of settlement in small rural areas of immigrants. And so this study will help understand some of the local realities within a variety of small communities, obviously including Smith Falls, some of the reasoning why immigrants tend not to settle in small communities, and what we need to do to ensure that we are sending the message that we are welcoming and accommodating and excited to see people of various ethnic backgrounds and cultures move to our community. So that report is supposed to be out, I think, early in the new year. But again, it simply speaks to, I guess, the efforts of what we're trying to accomplish here. And this insight will help guide our discussions and some of the decisions we make. but it also speaks to the reality that for whatever reason, we are not seeing, and it's not just Smith Falls, it's most small communities not seeing newcomers to Canada decided to settle in smaller rural areas. So additional comments regarding budget? So there's definitely consensus, I believe, that we need to ensure that there is adequate budget. I think what we will do is between Peter and Nadine and I, we can sit down and try to put some costing on some of these factors and come back with a budget figure. We'll probably need it. Nadine, if you can clarify, we need something in the first draft before November 22nd, I think, or somewhere in there, I think.
Yeah, I believe that was Janet's date in her report. My recommendation was perhaps we meet before then if possible, and then it could form part of a draft interim report to council. So if the group's supportive of that, Brianne and I could make that document pretty and add in some of the comments from today and then bring it back. And that budget figure, after you and Councillor McKenna and I meet, we could include that as well for the committee to consider as part of a whole package.
That seem reasonable to everybody? I see Peter with 2 thumbs up, so he's Tim, good, okay. So what we'll plan to do is probably meet in the next, probably 3 weeks from now. Would make sense, I guess, right? Maybe?
Yeah, I'm just confirming that date, sorry. Just pulling up her report here. So yeah, I would say if we could meet even the second, just looking, maybe even the second week of November, Mayor Pinko, just to give it time to get things rolling and we can get our report done. And then it would either come to a special cow if there was one in November or the last cow of the month.
Okay.
That's when the November 22nd is when the preliminary budget is going to be presented to council. So
we'll plan to meet in 2 weeks then, from 2 weeks from today. We probably won't need more than an hour. We'll just go through the final draft of the interim report and discuss the budget, unless something else comes up in the meantime. And we'll try to put some numbers together that are meaningful and comprehensive for what we want to accomplish. Okay, any further comments here before we move on? Don't see any hands up. And Nadine, have we heard from Charlene?
Sorry, Mayor Pinko, I just sent you a message there. She did message me, and unfortunately, she was hoping she could join. She's going to send me kind of a concept drawing of what she's proposing, so I can share that to the group, and perhaps we may have time at our next meeting that could be discussed as well if she's able to attend.
Okay, so for now, let's we will defer that item to our next meeting, and we'll all have a chance to take a look at what she's come up with prior to that meeting. So we'll be prepared to discuss it. So the final item, item D, we added, which is the correspondence item, the letter. And Nadine, I don't have the letter in front of me. I do recall it from. Are you able to put that up for make sure everyone has it?
Yeah.
So this is a request that came to council, and we decided Monday's committee of the whole meeting to circulate it to this task force first for some recommendations before it comes back to council. Okay. So as you can see here, from Métis Council of Canada of Ontario, inviting Smith Falls to join in celebrating Louis Riel Day on November 16th. Of course, we all know Louis Riel was a great Métis leader executed by the Canadian government for leading the Northwest resistance and defense of Métis rights and the Métis way of life. Every year, Louis Riel Day is held to remember what Riel sacrificed and renew the commitment to complete his work. In Ontario, the Métis struggle to protect their rights, communities, and families. The Métis Nation of Ontario celebrates Louis Riel Day to recognize the many contributions of the Métis to Canada and to highlight the challenges that Métis continue to face. As president of Highland Water's Métis Council, I'm requesting that City Hall, Town Hall raise the Métis flag on November 16th. And then thank you for your time. Highland Water's Métis Council looks forward to celebrating Louis Riel Day with you. The town does have a flag policy. Nadine, can you speak to how this request, what the policy, how the policy impacts this request, and a simply decision of council on how, I guess, a deviation from the policy, is that correct?
Actually, our policy does speak to raising flags on our community flagpole, and that's one directly outside of the town hall. And I'm just going to read you the excerpt right from the policy. So community flags will be flown on the pole outside the town hall. Permitted flags are in support of not-for-profit community-based funding raising drives that are important to the residents of the town of Smith Falls, in support of organization awareness campaigns to celebrate multicultural and civic events important to the town of Smith Falls, and so declared by council in the form of a resolution or proclamation. It does denote that they're not allowed to be used, the pole's not allowed to be used for political groups, religious groups, or in support of fundraising drives that are political or religious, or in support of organizations or events that promotes beliefs contrary to the municipality. And then it proceeds into how you apply. So how it would work procedurally is if this group, council has requested support from this group or advice from this group. So if that's the favor of this group, then we would bring it back to council at committee of the whole, requesting that council bring forward a resolution or proclamation to declare that they would like this flag flown. So that's basically the procedure for this type of item.
Okay, thank you. I'll put it to the group for comments and thoughts. Tim?
I think it's a good idea to show solidarity with the Métis people. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Peter?
I do. I as well think it's a good idea. I just wanted to check out the Métis Nation of Ontario website just to make sure, that they're exactly who they say they are. And so I've done that. And they're obviously, to say that they're not a political group they do definitely have promotion of Métis rights, but that's fine with me. So I'm supportive of it. And I've looked at their website. They're very much, they're promoting vaccines. They're doing all sorts of great work. So I'd be happy to support it.
Okay, thank you. Any additional thoughts? I don't see any hands up, but I'll state I agree. And again, I guess history has shown us that actions of our government in days past, especially to our Indigenous and Métis population, were very wrong and inappropriate, and we don't need to get all the details. But so I would also support this initiative. Staff can draft a proclamation recommendation that can come to our next committee of the whole meeting, which would be November 8th, I believe, and that will enable us to apply the flag as requested. Nadine?
Just procedurally, can I request a motion just to form that in the report as well, please?
Yes. So based on my comments, Tim, would you move that motion? Thank you. Peter, do you want to second it? Thank you. All in favor? If I get, shall you guys maybe put your hand up? I guess that's fine. Or Janelle, do you have a comment or just put your hand up? Anyone else, if you want to simply put your hand up or show your video so we can know your hand is up, one or the other. Okay, I see thumbs up from Michelle. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, looks like we got support across the board. So Nadine, you're able to capture that?
Yes, thank you. I'll put that in the report.
Thank you. Peter, you have a comment?
Just to say, if council agrees, and I'm pretty sure they will, I would like to also write the person who wrote to you in asking us to do this and to say that we're pleased to be able to do it if it goes forward, and just to close the loop on it, to let them know that we are listening.
Yes. Great
Okay.
point. Yep. Okay. That's it for the agenda items today. Any closing comments before we wrap up? I don't see any. Okay. We were able to accomplish our work today in less than an hour. So everyone please mark your calendars for that is the 10th, I guess, Nadine?
Watching the calendars. Yes, the 10th. And Brianne will send out the details for the meeting. So we have it in everyone's calendar. We'll send that out today.
Okay, thank you. Look for a motion for adjournment. Moved by Cass, seconded by Tim. All in favor? Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the sunshine today and appreciate everyone's involvement today. Take care.
Bye.